Hey, what's up, guys? I said I wasn't going to make a video for a couple of days, but I decided to change my mind. I wanted to show you basically how I work this 350 Magnum Pro, how I fill up the media and whatnot, and things to help prevent things from getting back into your tank and things like that. Trust me, I'm sure everybody's had issues with these things. So I just want to do a couple of things. I'm sure some of you are well aware, and maybe it'll help somebody out. But one of my biggest fixes that I've done, you've got your premium activated carbon, alright, and the thing about it is you end up getting granular size that is just too small for this particular deal. It's inside this hardcore tube, they call it. So my fix, and the way I do it, is I take the regular fiberglass mesh screen like you use for insects. I wrap it around to where it's about a 1/2 inch overlap at this point, and then I use zip ties and I tie around this thing. This way none of the super small charcoal media can get through this. Alright, I normally don't really use the carbon, but I'm going to do it now anyways. I think my tank wants to use a little bit of, but so there you are. That's 3 zip ties. Try to make it to where the screen is not standing up whatsoever. Just pull it on both sides until you get it, and then trim off the excess. Alright, so that's one fix to avoid carbon from getting through all these tiny little squares. Alright, so the next thing you're going to do is you're going to put it in inside your chamber here. Let's see which way I want to go. Alright, that's good. Put it inside your chamber, and then from there, I use a spoon to do this. So just spoon in your charcoal media, like so. Takes a little practice to get it in there. Try not to breathe in this dust if at all possible, because this dust is pretty damn nasty. And I'm making a little bit of a mess, but that's alright. But you want to fill this carbon container full. A lot of times I use a natural rock inside here instead of charcoal media, only because of having driftwood and whatnot inside the fish tank. That actually acts as a carbon, so it just basically replaces what this is, because carbon technically is broken down organic matter over time, kind of like coal, which comes from your dead plants and whatnot. So completely fill this guy up. Give me a few more seconds here, I'll get it filled up. And another thing to save yourself some money is don't buy the preformed pads for these things. You don't need them. I'll show you that in a second, how I do that. Most importantly, when you pull one of these filters apart, always check your O-rings, always check your, basically every rubber ring that's inside there. Because what will happen a lot of times is a rubber ring will stick to the lid or something, and you won't realize it. You'll pull it off, and then it ends up falling on the ground, rolling underneath something. You go to put it back together, and the next thing you know, you got water spraying everywhere. So always double check your rubber seals, especially in these things. I've read tons of reviews, people having a hard time putting these things back together and whatnot. So yeah, as you can see, this thing takes a lot of carbon. It's definitely not your typical like HOV filter and what have you. And it definitely works. I mean, I'll give it credit. Marineland, when they built this filter, they definitely did a really good job on it. Just bring it all the way up to the actual tube. I'm making a mess, like I said, but that's alright. It's on top of a plastic lid, so not a big deal. Alright, so now you've got your charcoal media all the way up to the top. Alright. And what you're going to do after that point, take and cap it. Make sure there's no garbage inside this thing. You want to make sure it gets down inside this core. Totally cap it. Alright. And you're going to see some of this stuff had fallen down when I was doing it. You got to rinse all this stuff off, and you definitely got to rinse this out. So give me 1 second. I will rinse it and I will be right back. Okay guys, I'm back. Everything's rinsed off. Make sure you rinse that carbon with cold water. Don't use hot water when you do it. Try not to breathe in that dust, like I said. You can use a mask if you want, because you don't want to breathe in that black carbon dust, believe me. Alright, now the next thing, get yourself some filter media pad. Alright, it's basically the same price as if you went out and bought the actual original filament for this, but you're getting more out of this. Alright, so now what you want to do, take it lengthwise, mark top to bottom. I already did a pre-mark. Alright, now from there, just cut it across. Good scissors help, believe me. But I'm getting snagged up in this. So anyways, cut all the way across. Put the excess back inside the bag. You want to store this stuff. Keep dust off of it. You don't want it to get any contamination outside in your room and whatnot. So just store it back up, tape it shut, whatever the case may be. Just store it to where it's going to stay clean. Alright, now the next thing you want to do is you just want to take this. What I do is I line it up to one side, and then I just roll this around it like so. And then you can trim off the excess if you want, which I'm going to go ahead and do because I can use this for another filter. Alright, the one thing about that filter pad, you have to go lengthwise. You're not able to get a good size out of this the other way. Alright, so basically now you've got your wrap around the actual thing. Now what I do is I take zip ties. These are, let's see how long these are. You can get longer ones. These you're looking at 7 inches. So it's going to take 3 of these. I know this just from doing this for so many times. So you're going to take 3 and 3. Put them all together. Not a lot, just enough to start it off. Same thing here. And then what you're going to do, well, let's finish this one right here real quick. Make sure you're putting the zip tie in the right way. Alright, now what you're going to do, you're going to wrap this around. Get it pretty snug if you can. There's only so much room inside that thing anyways, the canister. Take your zip tie. hold them until you get them pretty much all the same tightness. Don't go crazy because you're going to end up crushing the plastic tray that is holding your carbon. Just enough to make sure that this thing is going to stay put. And you're not going to get any. Give me 1 second here. I went and grab the lid. Don't do that. Alright, anyways, let's get this back on here. Alright, anyways, get this back on. Make sure it's secure. Like I said, I grabbed it instead of grabbing the base part of it. Alright, so let's move all this stuff out of the way here real quick. Alright, anyways, now go to the next one. Do the same exact thing. I want it tight, but not crazy tight. Alright, just enough to hold it on there like so. And then if you have to, pull it up a little bit in case it's not all the way over everything. This looks pretty good. I'm just going to make sure. And then it's all, don't go too far below the bottom as far as that goes. Alright, make sure you're holding this top as you see what happened before. When you're turning this thing upside down, you will definitely have a bigger mess than what I had. Alright, and then after that point, snip these off. You can go right up to the actual clip itself if you want. You got a little flying, a little debris going everywhere. Alright, I just turn it and make everything even. One thing about the backside is try to keep these actual tabs off the backside, the flat part of your actual container. Alright, make sure that you don't have any excess charcoal anywhere other than inside the container. Alright, we're good. Alright, now we've got that taken care of. Let's get this charcoal off around here. Let's get everything out of the way a little bit. Alright, make sure you take the flat side of your actual canister and it goes towards the pipe itself. Push it down in there until you feel it. Oops, look at that lid. Decided to come off again. Alright, make sure it's in there. One quick thing, hold on, let me just pull this back out for 1 second here. I forgot one simple thing I want to make sure that everybody's aware of real quick. Make sure that you have all your rubber O-rings in place. Alright, if there's any kind of charcoal in here or whatsoever, get it out. Put your rubber O-ring in the bottom. Make sure it's clean of any debris. Same with up here on the neck. Make sure that rubber gasket's there. Your impeller, make sure your impeller is inserted. And then from there, put it down inside the actual canister. I see a couple of pieces of carbon fell in. It only goes one direction inside this canister. Alright, usually where the neck is, you'll see the curve of it, that's where it goes. Alright, from there, hold your lid, but hold the container together. Put it down inside until it snaps down on top of the actual filter thing itself. And then once you get that in, again, make sure your rubber is on your lid. This This one's a little trickier to actually do it. What you have to do is line up this hole with the actual neck. So after some practice, you will just line it straight up and then it'll go right on it. First thing we're going to do is just add some water to this real quick. So let me get some water. Add your water inside here. Just going to take a couple of shots. Try not to let this thing float up, if at all possible. One more shot of water. Try to get it as full as possible. It's going to be less of a headache with air. Alright? Mine's not going to float up due to the fact that the actual media is pretty tight. But now what you want to do is you want to line up this hole that's on here to the actual neck that's in there. So start that first and then just set your cap down. Alright, and one last thing before you actually do this. There's one more O-ring right here. Make sure that thing is there. If it's broken, get in touch with Marineland and get it replaced. You see clearly there's a rubber O-ring here, so make sure you have that. Now, like I said, you just set it down, align your lid with your actual clips, clip it in place, use a little pressure to get it on there, and that's it, you're done. Alright, so I'll be back to show you how to bleed this. It's kind of a messy thing, but I'll show you how to actually bleed it so you get all the air out of the top of the canister. Because if you don't get all the air out of the top of the canister, let me show you real quick. I don't know if I can get it on there or not. See if I can zoom in there a little tighter. That way I can move it around just to show you. If you watch on top, you're going to see air up in there. See how the water's not all the way up to the very top? You got to get that air out of there. Alright, so I'm going to show you how to do that. Like I said, it makes a mess, but you got to do it. Alright guys, I'll be right back. Okay guys, I'm back. I'm going to just show you real quick how this thing hooks back up. These have their own little tabs. They're twist locks. Make sure you match up the right one with it. The way I did it was I made sure that my return to the tank was longer coming out of the upper portion of my stand here. And then I made sure the longer one that comes out of the tank back into the canister is longer as well. That's how I distinguish the difference. Alright, so the first thing you want to do, just twist lock it. Make sure you match up where you're going. Lock it into place. And then you do the same thing with the next one. It can only go one way. Push it in, twist, and then slide your little lock over it. Alright, now after that, open up your valve. Open up your valve. Don't start this pump with these valves closed. That's not good. Alright, now we're going to go ahead and start it up. Let me zoom down a little bit here so you can see what's going on. We're going to go ahead and start it up, and then I'll show you how to actually bleed this thing. Alright, so first thing you want to do, start it up. You heard how that impeller was? That's why it's important to make sure that impeller is seated properly. It's going to take it a second, then after that. Right now, if you notice the air bubbles, those air bubbles are not good. Let me just zoom in there and show you real quick. It's kind of tricky here, but you see all them air bubbles? You don't want that. That's not giving your canister filter any back pressure whatsoever to make it work efficiently. Alright, so let me show you how to eliminate that. Like I said, it's going to make a mess, so wrap a towel around the base of your pump. Mine, I don't really care because there's nowhere for the water to actually go. So, but if you've got carpet or whatever the case is, wrap a towel around the actual base to catch the excess water. Alright, now what you want to do is you want to shut it off, and then you want to open up two of the actual clips. Now watch what happens. Hear the water coming out? Stop it. I want it again. Now we got a little more air in it. That's going to pump all your air out of the lines. So again, shut it off. And do it again, same thing. Still got a little bit more, not bad. Once more should cure it. Another way of doing it is to shut it off and close your valve. Or I'm sorry, you don't want to close your valve, my bad. If you close your valve, it's not going to let the air in or the water in. Alright, one more time. I think that should have actually gotten rid of all the air this time. Yeah, there you go. Alright, see now if you look at it, you'll see there's actually no air bubbles whatsoever in there. It took me 3 times to actually get it, but that's what you want. You don't want any air bubbles whatsoever up inside there. It's messy, but it's the only way you're able to get one of these things working right. I'm going to do it just one more time because I see like a tiny little one. I want to get it out of there. Make sure you're holding this lid tight too, because if you're not, you're going to have a major flood. You want to hold a lot of pressure on this while you're doing it. Alright? And that's it. Now you've got your canister filter running properly. And that's all I got to say about that. Now your fish will be happy. And your canister will be good to go. I usually change it like once a month. But I also use an AquaClear 70 as wise, so I switch back and forth between these two particular models. But the canister is a very efficient filter. I love it. I use it on my 75-gallon tank, and it works phenomenal. Alright guys, with that, I know it took a while, but I just wanted to show you how I do things with my canister. Alright guys, thanks for watching. Bye bye.